Welcome, viewers, to Aegelis Interviews, where we talk to everyday people doing extraordinary things. Hats off to our guest today. Let's go. Today, I'm delighted to introduce to you Amarilys Gacio Rassler, who has written Beyond the Veil, Encountering Demons. Beyond the Veil, Encountering Demons is a vella you can read on Amazon.com or download to your Kindle. A vella is a series of episodes released over time that unfold into a story. I've read 5 episodes of the story so far. Good evening, Amarilys. Thank you for taking the time to talk with us about your work.
Thank you for having me, and thank you for doing this. It's very good, very kind of you to do this for us.
Sure, and it's always a lot of fun, and I love learning from authors and hearing their stories as well. Can you walk us through Beyond the Veil, Encountering Demons, and share with us what the story is about?
Okay. In 1979, I wanted to contact my grandparents who had died, and I was very curious. I had many questions about the spirit realm. So I went ahead and used the Ouija board, and actually it worked for me. And I thought I was contacting my grandparents and had a good amount of time talking to them or feeling like I was talking to them. My grandparents were occultists in Cuba. They practiced spiritism, which is the belief that you can talk to the dead. The background is there, and they had a lot of trauma over some things that happened to them because of their occult practices. But I didn't know about that at that time. So at that time in 1979, when I kept in touch with what I thought was my grandparents, everything went well until they asked me to do something that I wouldn't do. And after that, it was torment and revelations that what I was dealing with was demons. And so it's a story of survival. It's a Cuban American story. It's flavor with drama, and it's not old, tensioned and conflict, although there's a great deal of that. And going to one of the conferences that I've been to, writing conferences, one of them had a gong show type of thing where you did your pitch for your book, for your story, and I did. And they said, what would you compare this to, a book or a movie? And I said, well, my story is a combination of a cultural love, like in the movie Moonstruck, which the culture there is Italian, but mine is Cuban. But then also it runs into The Exorcist, and that's what it is. It's fun and humor and love of family. I'm one of the 14,000 children that escaped Cuba through Operación Pedro Pan. And that's when children came through a clandestine operation of the United States here, and they came without their parents. And so those kind of things are in the book too, and immigration, getting used to the United States. My grandparents, who came then to the United States, ended up buying these little cans, and they had a tuna. They had a little cat on it, and they ate it. And it was later that we found out they were eating cat food because they didn't know the English. So there's cute things and funny things, but at the same time, there's that encounter and trauma with the occult and with demonic oppression, and the reality that the spirit realm is there and it's real, and there's sides to it. There's 2 sides to it for sure. So that's how my story came about. I wanted people to know the reality of the spirit realm and the dangers of it. And I wanted to leave something for my family and for others. I've helped people that had this kind of oppression for years and years. And though the world sometimes doesn't realize it's going on, it is going on, the demonic activity. So that's how my story came about.
After you had arrived here, what kind of professions did you get into, and what is your current profession?
Okay, so I was a homemaker and a teacher. I graduated from the University of South Florida, and then later on, I ministered to people, like I said, counseling. I went to conferences to learn how to counsel, how to help people, and then I became an industrial chaplain, and I volunteered as an industrial chaplain for 15 years at Busch Gardens, Tampa, Florida. That was a lot of fun, but also counseling people with spiritual oppression.
Looking at the cover, can you tell us about the significance of the butterfly image?
The butterfly image was done by Tony Mendoza, who did my first book, and I do have another book, Cuban American Dancing on the Hyphen, which went to Oregon State University for students to prepare to go to Cuba. He's a great artist, Cuban American artist from Miami, lives in Miami, and he made my butterfly. Now, my butterfly is a Cuban butterfly, and the mosaic in the little pieces are what he knows is a butterfly from Cuba. So he got his idea from a Cuban butterfly. My grandmother, in the first pages of my vella in my book, she talks about me. She was a poet, and she talks about me being a butterfly in a little line of poem that she wrote. And she said I was a butterfly that was looking for the nectar in the perfect rose. And so I went that way. I went looking in all kinds of rose gardens, but there were the wrong rose gardens until I found the Rose of Sharon, which is Jesus, who helped me out of my trouble with demons. And so that is why there's a butterfly, because I am the butterfly that got into trouble going into the wrong rose garden and then finding the right one.
That is a great personal connection. And I'm glad you brought up the other cover as well, because I was looking at that one. Cuban American Dancing on the Hyphen. I like
Yes.
how it has a really nice celebration of both cultures all in one cover. So I just thought that was just a magnificent image for the book. You really got that sense and that feeling from looking at it.
Yes, he did a great job. I'm very, very glad. He's a dear friend. I love Tony very much.
Excellent. And for Beyond the Veil, the main character is Mayita. Since this is based on a true story, is Mayita a version of yourself?
Yes, yes. My name is Amarilys, but my grandmother would call me, actually, she called me Mayi. It's the pronunciation in Spanish, Mayi. And Mayita is little Mayi. So it goes back from Mayi to Mayita. Later on, to make it more simple for Americans to pronounce my name, because it was a little hard to pronounce, Amarilys, Amarilys in Spanish, I went with Margie. And there's a story about why I'm named Margie, and Margie with 2 G's. I changed the Margie to 2 G's in this book. So yes, Mayita it's the main character because it's me. Actually, I wrote this book as a memoir, and then I changed it just a little bit, and did it based on a true story. But actually, it is my life story. It is my life story. Things that happen in the book happened to me, actually. All the confrontations with demons, all the desperations, all the push towards suicide, all that is in there, and it happened to me.
Can you share with us a favorite quote or excerpt from the story?
Yes, let me read you. When I was 4 years old in Cuba, I was stricken with polio, and the process of helping a polio victim there was to keep them still without moving. And I had just come from the hospital, and I couldn't move my right leg and my back. They wanted me tied to the bed with boots at the end of the bed. They nail boots to the end of the bed, and then they put your feet in it. So you really cannot move. So at 4-year-old, I went to a psychic healer that my grandfather and father took me without my mother knowing. She was not happy about that because of her background and all she suffered with my grandparents' involvement in the occult. But then when I came back that night, I was lying in bed as a 4-year-old, and I had my feet in the boots. And for the first time as a little child, I experienced the spirit realm. And this is what this is. I call it The Intruders, episode 6, The Intruders. And I'm going to read a little bit from that for you to get the feel of the child. Havana, Cuba, September 1954. The noise wakes me. My parrot shakes crazy inside his cage. His home hangs in front of our living room window by my bed, but I can't see. The room's too dark, creepy. My shoes fastened at the end of my bed are very tight. I try to move, but it's hard with my feet locked up. Inside those dark brown boots, they always look like two big roaches that swallow my feet. There's movement at the end of the bed. I'm startled. Someone is at the end of my bed behind my shoes. A drop of sweat runs down my eye. Something like a big rope uncoils bigger and bigger by my feet. I want to scream, call mommy. The words don't come. The someone there forms like a ball. Then a man? He looks old, bent, but how? Mommy, where's my mommy? A little light comes over him. I can see him. He has white hair and leans on a cane. He turns and stares. I try to sit up. You're a bad girl. He shakes his cane at me. I start to cry. Another shape like a yo-yo forms in the air. Mommy, mommy, I rub my eyes, my face. I open my mouth. The sounds won't come. He lifts his cane. He's going to hit me. I shield my face with my arm. Behind him, something takes shape. I pull up my sheet to my head. Don't want to see, don't want to see. So that's from episode 6, The Intruders.
Wow, there's a lot of intensity in that writing.
Yes, I still remember what happened even after so many years. It's something a child doesn't forget, and then a person doesn't forget. So
I would expect not, for sure. It's a traumatic event. Who are the friends and family who have supported you in your writings?
My husband, 52 years married. He's in my book. Of course, he was my high school history teacher and called me after I graduated. And he's been very good. He's the one that reads my material first and edits. And my daughter, and then of course, writers. I belong to writers group, especially one bistro group, very close to me. Yes.
Excellent. And do you have a favorite place that you visited?
It has to do with, I've learned your background, Italy. I love Italy. I love the art and the history, the scenery, it's beautiful. And the people, they remind me very much of my own culture. So I love Italy.
Excellent. Excellent. How about pets? Do you have any pets?
I have a little wild Jack Russell Terrier who lets me dress him up in different outfits for treats, and who's very smart and very attached to us, very loving little dog, very loud.
What other projects are you working on?
Right now, I am working on adding to a story that was an award-winning story, The Rafters, and it was flash fiction, and it got the Royal Palm Literary Award, one of the Royal Palm Literary Awards some years back, and it also was acted out in an improvisation theater. So it was a little story about 5 rafters, a man, his wife and child, and a son and his elderly mother in the raft, and who survived. And in my heart, I always wanted to extend it and see years after what happened to the rafters. So I'm working on that for a Cuban American anthology.
And by rafter, you're talking about refugees who are traveling by
Yes.
by the boat? Okay.
The Cuban rafters that came from Cuba. So they're Cuban rafters coming from Cuba, and what happened.
Excellent. And what advice would you have for aspiring writers?
Oh, for aspiring writers, well, I encourage them to join groups. This is a lonely work, writing, and we need all the encouragement we can get, and we need to learn from others. We need to encourage others. I encourage them to read. I encourage them to read books about writing, and also other people that have written in your genre that you can learn from. And of course, writers' conferences are great. They have added much knowledge to me, and it has been wonderful to be able to go to writers conferences and belong to writers group, word weavers, Tampa writers, Florida writers. I belong to those groups. They have been wonderful.
Very nice. Sounds like you're well connected. Do you have
It's been a good adventure.
Excellent. Do you have any favorite movies, books, comics, or shows?
Okay, so definitely Moonstruck. We watch Moonstruck a great deal. There's nice romance, and I love the love of family there. And the Italian culture that comes out in humor in Moonstruck. I also love Narnia, of course. There's the spirit realm is very alive in that, and there's even surprisingly enough, there's even a horror movie that I like because it shows the cruelty of the demonic, and Denzel Washington is in it, and it's called Fallen, and it opens up our eyes to the cruelty of the demonic world.
What advice would you have for somebody who's in the middle of spiritual warfare?
First of all, of course, reach out to God, and reach out to someone that maybe has been there so that you don't have to do it alone. There is a great book, The Bondage Breaker. Whenever I get calls to help people, the first thing I say is, will you please pick up The Bondage Breaker by Dr. Anderson and read it so that you realize what's going on. And then I have taken many people through the steps of freedom in Christ at the end of the book. And that cuts ties with any demonic attachment that one has made through opening up the door to demons, because there are many ways of opening the doors to demons. But the first step is we need to cut the ties with the enemy. And God has forgiven us. We pray to God to forgive us, and He's forgiven us for anything we do or have done. He will forgive us. But demons don't forget. And once you've been in their territory, you have to make sure you cut ties with them. And sometimes they just leave, and sometimes you have to address the problem and kick them out. So that would be the start. And of course, prayer, and other people praying for you. It's a wonderful thing.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Amarilys, for sharing your time and insight with us today.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. For our cherished viewers, we hope you pick up Beyond the Veil, Encountering Demons on Amazon.com or Kindle to read the first 3 episodes for free, and then it's only pennies thereafter. You can also support your favorite authors by clicking their follow button on their author page. Leave ratings, leave a review, because a review is like gold. There's a crown button to vote for your weekly favorite vella. Give them a thumbs up, just as you can click the like button for this video and subscribe. Until next time, blessings be.
Thank you.